Welcome back to Capitol Tonight. The Upgrade New York collaboration is in Albany for a legislative forum today to discuss how New York State can mandate that all state buildings, facilities, and campuses decarbonize by eliminating on-site emissions by 2040. Now, currently, buildings are the largest source of emissions in New York State, contributing over 32% of all pollution in the state. And decarbonizing state-owned facilities, things like SUNY campuses, would be a huge step in helping achieve the state's aggressive climate goals. Joining us tonight are two guests to discuss this issue: Julie Tighe, president of the New York State League of Conservation Voters, and John Murphy, an international representative for the United Association, which is a fancy way of saying he's an international representative for the Plumbers Union. It's great to see you both.
It's great to be here.
Thank you for having a good sense of humor. So first of all, Julie, what is the Upgrade Coalition?
Upgrade New York is a collaboration of labor, environmental, and climate justice organizations that are working together to help us move forward with decarbonizing our buildings using thermal energy networks so that we're also creating jobs. So thermal energy networks are basically geothermal, but not just for one building. They're connecting multiple buildings together so that we are taking advantage of waste heat that's generated in one building, say like a data center, and moving it to another building in the network, say an apartment building.
And this isn't science fiction. This exists.
This exists today.
And it exists in Albany.
It does. It
Where?
does indeed. SUNY Albany has two of their buildings are using geothermal systems now. A dorm on the main SUNY campus and their new E-Tech building on the Harriman campus, both of which are completely geothermal, not using any fossil fuels whatsoever. And as an alumni, I'm really proud of that. But also, it's very cool that they're not using it in the dorm is very comfortable and people like living there.
And it's freezing on the SUNY Albany campus.
Indeed,
so that's
it is.
A good thing.
Indeed, it is.
All right. So why is it so critical to have unions on board with this effort?
Well, if I can backtrack, since the passage of the CLCPA and the focus on all renewables, unfortunately, there were thousands of workers in the fossil fuel industry that were left behind, that were not part of that transition.
Right.
Thermal energy networks actually allow the very skills of people that build out these systems now using fossil fuel, but to use thermal energy networks. We have the training infrastructure, and all we need is the pipeline of work. We can start to help those underserved communities, which we know a building trade union is an entrance to the middle class.
All right. So, I'm somebody who is fitting pipes for a fossil fuel company. I can do the same thing, the fitting of pipes for a geothermal energy company. It's the same thing.
It's exactly what we train for. It's exactly. We have the structure to be able to train the individuals, the people that are doing that now. It's the very skills that they use today.
All right. What if I'm 55 years old and I'm doing this? Can I learn to do it over there?
Thermal energy networks, yes. But a 55-year-old pipe fitter is not going to become an offshore wind technician.
Thank you for being honest. So what does that mean for that 55-year-old?
Thermal energy networks are that pathway, and what we need to do when it comes to power generation is an all-of-the-above approach. We're here today in Albany to talk about the expansion of thermal energy networks on SUNY campuses, and as I said, it is not only a transition for plumbers and pipe fitters, operating engineers, utility workers, all across the board. The maintenance and the installation of these systems is exactly what they do.
All right, so
it's a true transition.
A true transition. Why don't we talk about exactly what the New York League of Conservation Voters wants to do here with the Upgrade collaboration? There is a bill that you're building on from last year called the Thermal Energy Networks and Jobs Act.
That's right.
Tell us about it.
So that law requires all the utilities across New York State to do a pilot program to do utility scale geothermal energy networks so that we're proving out that we can do this not just for an individual building, but over a number of buildings, over a neighborhood scale, because we really need to take all of our climate solutions and scale them up. So this year, we want to build on that. This is something that our groups did together, Sierra Club, the Building Decarbonization Coalition, the AFL-CIO, the Building Trades, the League, We Act, Agree, and Align. We did that with the utilities. Now this year, we want to take that forward, make sure that we're requiring all of the state facilities in New York.
The Harriman campus,
the Harriman campus,
SUNY Albany,
the Empire State Plaza,
okay.
Stony Brook, Buffalo, Buffalo, all over the state. We want to make sure that all of them are decarbonizing 100% of on-site emissions by 2040. And importantly, we want right now the state to commit $115 million so that we can get engineering plans to address the top 15 polluting facilities. Because if the state were to decarbonize the top 15 emitting state facilities, many of which are SUNY campuses, we would be able to cut their emissions from buildings by 40%. Just from those.
That's huge.
Just
Just those 15 projects. Okay.
And we want to make sure that they have labor provisions that require prevailing wages, that allow for local hiring, so that we're getting people from disadvantaged communities into that workforce that John was just talking about.
All right.
So we want these things all to be together.
And this in this budget,
$115
million.
Senator Hinchy and Senator McDonald are helping us to champion this within the legislature.
Has the bill been introduced by them already to get this going, or no?
It has not. It will be shortly, but they have been talking about it within their conferences for purposes of trying to get it into the budget.
All right, because TikTok.
We know.
Okay.
Yes. No,
All right.
they've been working on this already within behind the scenes.
So, Julie, I want to ask you something that Will Barkley brought up, Republican Assembly Minority Leader, and he said, why should New York State be taking on this monumental task of decarbonization, and along with its massive cost, when New York State alone only contributes a small percentage of the greenhouse gas emissions into the environment?
Sure. First, New York has long been a leader on environmental issues, and this is no different, right? We have one of the most progressive climate laws in the entire country. We've just had in Congress now passed significant climate investments that the country is making for the first time ever. And so we are really helping to lead the way, and we're going to benefit from that clean energy transition. We know that, for example, these thermal energy networks are far more efficient than using traditional heating systems are, right? Like a magnitude of 90% efficiency from your furnace versus 300% efficiency using a thermal energy network, because you're not wasting energy. You're moving it from one place to the other.
And equally important, I'm sorry, Julie, equally important is that these systems don't tax the electric grid even during peak seasons, whether it's winter or summer, they maintain that same efficiency.
So where does the energy come from?
The ground.
Sorry.
The ground.
It comes from the ground, or for example, right? Because the ground is a steady state, right?
Yeah.
It's roughly 55 degrees all year round. Once you get past the first few feet, right?
So when you go to house caverns or underground, it's always the same temperature.
Yes,
all the
exactly. It's beautiful and nice and
Yes.
cool in the summertime, but it's also that same temperature in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And so it's capturing that energy and moving it around, basically, because right now we waste a lot of energy in the way we heat and cool our systems now.
So are your nervous, excited? I mean, what are they telling you?
As we try to decarbonize buildings, they now have an understanding that there is a path forward that includes them, that's more inclusive. There's been frustration on power generation, there's been frustration on transportation.
That's two different buckets that we're talking about now.
That's correct when we talk about decarbonization. But as far as buildings, pipe is pipe. It's not a matter of we're partial to gas. As long as there's pipe, my members are there. And it's not just plumbers and pipe fitters. There's multiple trades that are involved in this. But what's great is with decarbonizing building, they're much more efficient, and we're keeping the members employed. And we're allowing the entry for different communities to get into the union building trades programs.
Where can people learn more about this?
We have a website. upgradenewyork.org is our website for the collaboration. And we are going to be doing more work to help educate people about our efforts.
Terrific. We've been speaking with Julie Tighe, president of the New York League of Conservation Voters, and John Murphy, international representative for the United Association.
Yes.
It's very vague. Thank you.
Thank you.